Welcome to the Kinda Krunchy podcast, where we talk about all things health and wellness. We can't wait for you to hear today's episode, so let's get to it. Welcome, guys. This is Rachel, and I'm here with Jensen, and we also have a very special guest today, a longtime best friend who is going to be sharing all about natural childbirth in the hospital setting and kind of just childbirth in general, because a lot of you have been asking for that, and Jensen and I are not experienced in that department, so we are looking forward to having someone that maybe has better advice than us to share with you on that. But we're going to get started with some life updates. So Jensen, do you want to share with us what's going on?
Yes. So first I'm going to talk about my little garden, and by little garden, I mean my one plant that I'm growing this year. So with the chickens, with a lot of travel we have, I just knew that a full garden was just not going to happen. And it was going to add more stress to my life. So I said, you know what? I just want to try to grow one thing this year. Well, first I did get lots of flowers. So my flowers are going great. Well, we're in Punxsutawney right now, so I hope that they're still alive and well. I have Logan's sister coming to water them because I've been watering them. I love watering them. I feel like there's something so satisfying about just nourishing them and helping them. I'm hating watering my things this year because we've been in a drought and it's a pain in the butt because I've got a huge garden to haul water to. I don't have a lot of things to water, so I have literally just a few plants. I have this hanging basket that I'm obsessed with that I see out my window every day. But cute. My one plant that I'm growing is zucchini, and it just started to sprout, which I'm so excited.
It's exciting.
Because I've literally never grown a vegetable before. I did in high school, in my backyard one time, but really I haven't. So the fact that I'm nourishing something, giving it life, and I'm hoping that it actually produces vegetables. And we love zucchini. It's one of our favorite veggies in the summer. And I know that those plants produce a lot. You literally don't need a lot. I'll probably have excess.
That's
which
so fun.
We love zucchini bread. So we'll get to make some of that.
Oh, it is the best.
But other than that, a week from so we're recording right now. Actually, a week from now, we'll be on our way to our vacation in Maine.
We love Maine.
You've been to Maine a few times.
Yes.
This is our first time. We've never been up there. We haven't really explored New England at all. And I just know people, anytime I say we're going to Maine, everyone's like, oh, I love Maine. It's so beautiful. You're going to have the best time. So we're really excited. We're taking Bentley, which...
That's so fun.
It's going to be an experience. But I'm just excited to go to all the different cute coastal towns. We want to go to Acadia.
Yeah.
We're staying in the Kennebunkport area.
It's a nice spot.
Yeah, I'm just excited to experience the beautiful sights, to be off my phone for the week. I will be off social media, please don't contact me. Just really soaking in that time.
I love that. Yeah, just
so give me 2 top tips for Maine that I must do, please, because I know you have so many.
Okay, top tips for Maine. You have to eat a lobster roll.
I've never had one.
I don't even like lobster, but I eat a lobster roll there because you have to. You have to. In Kennebunkport, the Lobster Shack's the best place.
Okay.
And the other thing is, I would definitely go, just the coast is so pretty. So, the lighthouses there, the Portland Head Lighthouse, totally worth seeing.
Okay.
Even, the beach there is really, Old Orchard Beach is just, a cute little vibe. But it's so nice because it's tiny that you can drive, one town to another little town in 30 minutes and then just, walk through it and keep going. So, in a day, you can kind of go through all of them. So, we love, just kind of town hopping and, not even having a plan, just walking around and enjoying it. We've never seen a moose there. We'd like to, but you kind of have to go more towards, the western...
the Canadian
side and, north. Yeah. And, all the coastal stuff's on the other side. Yeah. So, maybe someday up there we'll go to moose territory. Yeah.
We did book whale watching. Logan was
there is whale watching there.
Logan was persistent that he wants to go whale watching. I have an expectation that we'll see 0 whales because they say...
We went and saw a few.
Okay, well, I just want to, I don't want to be disappointed, so I'm going and thinking, we're not going to see any. So if we see one, it'll be exceeding my expectations.
Yeah. When we saw them, though, you always think whale watching, the whales are going to, jump up and it's going to be, an orca and you're like, oh my gosh. And it was just oh, look, way farther. If you caught it in the right second, you could see the back of a whale briefly kind of come out of the water. And I was great. Didn't see. Everyone else saw him. I didn't catch a single one. I was always where? But that's so much fun. I'm so excited for you guys. I hope you love it. literally it's our favorite.
Yes. So,
and they're very dog friendly, so it'll be great for Bentley.
I was looking
we
up.
always get Ollie a toy there.
Yeah, they said it's a very like dog friendly state. So I'm excited. I'll have to update next time we record about that. Yeah.
Yeah, you will for sure.
Yeah. So Rachel, tell me the things. What's happening?
My update's just kind of simple but very exciting. So ever since we moved to this house like 2 years ago, my sourdough starter, I let it die because it was busy moving and everything, and I had a good one going at our old apartment, and then I was like, well, I'll just restart one at the new house. And I have tried a couple of times and it has never taken, and I've just like lost my mind, and I've been like, is it the humidity or is it something? Because like no bake cookies don't set up here, and like there's other weird things that sometimes with cooking, it's like, I think it's like the altitude or whatever. I don't know. I'm gonna blame it on other factors. So I've just been like, it really stinks. And then to buy the bread like I like is more expensive. So I finally just like put on my Instagram, does anyone have a starter that they'll just like split and share some with me? And I was very thankful one of my Instagram friends did. And her starter was so healthy and wonderful and alive. And so I've now kept it alive. And I made a beautiful loaf of sourdough the other week that I was like, I made this. Oh my goodness. Like it was probably one of the best ones I've ever made. And so I'm just popping out the sourdough stuff, bagels, sourdough discard cookies, crackers, the bread, and I'm like living my best sourdough life right now.
I am so proud of you. I just killed my starter, so I made
story of my life for 2 years, Jensen.
I made a great loaf of sourdough bread a few weeks ago, and then I killed my starter. But for me, I've mastered making good homemade bread that like is so easy. It's like
without the starter,
and Logan loves it. It's 4 ingredients, and I can make it so much quicker. And I don't work fully from home. Like there's some days I do, and for me, like
sourdough takes time, days.
Does. And I'm like, one day when I fully work from home, or I'm a stay-at-home mom or something, then I feel like that will be my sourdough era. But right now, with my busy life, I'm just not there yet. So I'm so proud of you. But sourdough is so good. Like it's literally like melts in your mouth.
It is.
It has like the good like fermentation that's good.
Yes.
Like it helps you process it better.
But I think I used to think like, well, it's either you have to make sourdough or you might as well just buy bread from the store. But it's like homemade bread is still healthier than from the store. Yeah. And it's actually pretty easy to make homemade bread with like yeast.
Yes.
Like a yeast packet.
Yes.
And like, yeah, the sourdough's better because it's fermented and all this stuff. But like, that's still a better option. Yeah. And it's still cozy to just make homemade bread if you don't have the investment of time for sourdough. Because sourdough is like multi-day. You have to bring it out and feed it and then like take half of it off and let it rise and then second rise and then kneading. So it's definitely an investment of time. But yeah, I'm excited. Right now it's a time in my life where I can do the sourdough thing. I don't know if when I have kids and stuff, how realistically I'll be able to dedicate time to it. But I'm loving my sourdough making journey right now.
I love that for you. I think I'm going to post on the Kind of Crunchy Instagram a little bread tutorial for the bread that I make. Because
that's a great idea.
I love watching video tutorials rather than like someone giving me steps to do something. And the one that I make is so easy, and it literally like makes the most beautiful bread. And so I'll have to do that. And this is me saying it out loud, so I actually do it.
So that you do it.
So I actually do it.
Make note of it.
Yes.
But yeah, let's get into today's episode with our guest. Hi guys. So today we have a guest. We have Kaston Palmiere with us, which it's still weird for me to call her that because we've been best friends since we were little. So to me, she's still by her maiden name in my mind. But she is one of my closest friends, and Jensen, her and I were all really good friends in middle school through high school, did a lot of life together, and she is now a mom of like the most perfect little 6-month-old Cleary, and she's here to talk a little bit about natural childbirth in the hospital setting and just in general childbirth. We've had a lot of you ask us questions about that, and Jensen and I really aren't equipped to talk about that at all and think it would be kind of hypocritical for us to give any advice. So we're hoping to have guests and people on that can give a little more insight into that, and we are super excited. We just have kept talking about like how excited we are that Kaston's coming on, because I just think she has so much insight, like from the natural standpoint, but also she is a nurse and worked in the OB, so she has like that perspective, and then she's actually had a child too, so there's just so much she can share with us. So I'm super excited. So Kaston, do you want to tell us anything about yourself? A few fun facts or anything?
Sure, yeah. So like Rachel said, my name's Kaston, and actually it's Palmiere.
How did I say it?
Palmiere.
Palmiere.
No, it's
when you get your best friend's name wrong.
You said it like that before I even met my husband, and then I just I thought it was Palmiere, and then I met him, and he's like, no, it's actually Palmiere. So
Why did you never tell me?
I just went with it. I don't know. You said it with such confidence. I was
you know what?
Palmiere.
I get it from my dad because he says everybody's name wrong.
I like hearing you say it even though it's not right. So just
okay, well then I'll just keep saying that.
You can say it like that because I think it sounds like it sounds cool,
fancy.
Palmiere, but it's Palmiere.
Okay,
that's all right. So to my husband Vincent, and we've been married for over 3 years now. That's kind of hard to believe. And we had a daughter in November last year, so she's 6.5 months old now, and she's just the little light of our lives. She really is just so good to us. And then we have our cat Max, who's 17, and he's a Siamese, and they're very vocal cats. So he's just the little old man in the house, and we have to take care of him as well now.
My husband Logan loves her cat Max.
He is very when people say they have the best cat, he's the best cat. He's just so social, so nice, loves anyone.
He's a cutie,
but sometimes a lot. And then so Rachel said I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse now for 6 years, and the first 4 of those have been in labor and delivery. And then about 2 years ago, I started working just part-time in maternity, and then short procedure and PACU have been my main job for 2 years to get me off night shift was the big reason, and just a better schedule. And then I actually also have another job that I'm just real casual, just a couple times a month. I work at a local IV bar, if any. Those are up and coming.
We need to go do it. We need to have her give us IVs.
Yeah.
Wait, can you talk about that? I'm so curious.
I will talk a little bit about it. I'm not there all the time. They're always doing new things, but my favorite thing that they do is the IV hydration. So you can come in anytime to get just regular fluids or vitamins is what they put in them. If you're sick, people thought they'd be really popular for hangovers. Which we do get
bachelorette parties and stuff.
Yeah, but honestly, it's really just people that just want to be healthier or just want to feel better, or they have the flu. A lot of just people feel run down and they come in and get a drip, and it's just you come in, we get your vitals, start an IV, get your infusion, and get your vitals, and you're out the door. It's I've gotten a couple myself, and I think they're a really good thing, even though they're really kind of strange around here. People, you get different opinions about it, but hey, I'm all for an alternative treatment.
I love
if
that.
I'm feeling down.
I don't think I do well just because I pass out any type of anything here, and then you're on it for a while. To just electively do that, I think it would
it is
freak
weird.
me out.
Yeah, but it's happened. People have passed out.
I probably would.
You just come around and then you're like, I'm good now.
That's normally what happens when I get my blood taken. They're just like, yeah, we took it all while you were out.
Yeah, but it's a really neat thing, and it's like my hobby. Even though it's a job, it's like my hobby because it's just low key, and people just are so friendly and want to be there, and it's just no stress and just a fun thing.
I really need to come get one. I
haven't.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
It scares me, is why I haven't. But we should do it at Cringy or Crunchy.
Yeah.
And get the IVs.
Wait till you're real sick or something. And then
that's a good idea.
So getting into some questions we have. So let's hear all about your pregnancy experience. So some things you did while you were pregnant to support you and your baby's health. What were some things that you did?
So fortunately, I had a really great pregnancy, and I don't know if that's from some of the things I'll talk about that I did to support myself. But it was pretty uneventful. I was able to work up until I had her, which I was happy about because I just was able to move and just function, and it didn't I wasn't just sitting at home being large and pregnant. I was able to just work, and So I definitely supported myself through what I ate, and that's where the raw milk comes in. I drank a lot of raw milk, and I don't know, Jenna actually mentioned that too, and I don't know if there's something to that, because I didn't really have a lot of morning sickness. Well, I didn't have any like nausea or vomiting.
Wow.
I didn't have any of that. So raw milk, and then I did the liver. I just recently ate it raw, but I was doing desiccated. I was taking the pill form of the liver, and a lot of eggs, and just really just animal products and things from the earth, and trying to avoid just super processed things, because whatever you take in, your baby gets. And I also tried to keep exercising. Like, pregnancy is not the time to just stop being mobile. A lot of like weights, I don't know if that's controversial or not for some people, but if you've been lifting weights, you can still lift weights whenever you're pregnant. So free weights, it was just like at home. I did my workouts at home, and a lot of squatting, a lot of just being upright, even depending on your occupation. If you're walking, or you have the option to stand instead of sit, like for charting for me at the hospital, I chose to stand and just to keep everything in a line. I think that's really important. And the only thing when I didn't have morning sickness, but I had like just a heavy feeling in my stomach the first trimester. And I went to Florida around 10 weeks pregnant, and ever since I was in Florida, I didn't have any issues. So I'm going to contribute that to all the sunshine I got. So lots of sunshine, lots of like just staying active, eat well, and also rest. Like, don't stay up late just because you can. Like, I am a sleeper, and I would go to bed early so I could get like 8 to 10 hours of sleep at night. You're growing
that baby.
And yeah, so it all just works together. And the last thing I would say is I did regular chiropractic care, which I think, along with the alignment, it helped. And you go more frequent usually, the bigger you get and closer to delivery. and I just felt better. I just felt like I'm doing something good to promote a successful everything, because I feel aligned.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I've heard them say that chiropractic care can help with like aligning the pelvis for birth too, which I just think is interesting, because that like makes sense to me that could help. Kaston was very active during her pregnancy. She actually told me while we were on a run that she was pregnant. And then she said, "Can we walk?"
Yeah, I was a little winded already.
I said, "I guess you have an excuse today."
Yeah.
No, those are all awesome things. Like, I can attest to, Kaston was very just like, it was like, is she pregnant? Because she was just like doing life, like, and I think that's awesome that she was able to be like that. And I know some people, it's like debilitating pregnancy almost. It's actually, I think, like, when people talk about pregnancy in medical terms, a lot of people like classify it with disease. Like, it's like classified as that, and that's crazy because it's pregnancy. Like, it shouldn't be looked at like that. Yeah. So I think all those things definitely probably contributed and really helped with your healthy pregnancy. So then you gave birth, and you did have Cleary in the hospital setting instead of a home birth. And I know that was something you kind of like went back and forth on what you were going to do. Can you tell us a little bit more about that decision and like just in general?
Yeah. So prior to having Cleary, I thought, because I worked in labor and delivery, I was exposed to the hospital setting, yet I saw this whole world pretty much online of these women giving birth at home, and kind of introduced me to that, and I kind of decided I'm gonna have my babies at home. It's so important. I just don't want interventions, and I really thought that I was going to do that, but then I got pregnant. And it just, there wasn't a shift yet until like 7 weeks pregnant. I had some bleeding, and it was enough that I knew it could just be okay, but I wanted that reassurance. So I was at work, and I asked the doctor what he thought, and he just set me up with a first trimester ultrasound. Pretty much, I think it was just days later. and which I was going to decline a first trimester ultrasound because I wanted to do limited ultrasounds and just get the 20-week anatomy scan. But because I had regular periods and I was sure of my due date and everything. But that kind of happened, and then I agreed to it and I got it. And that kind of is what set me up in the hospital to like, to see him and go through appointments. So I decided then that I was going to just see how it went. And if at any point I'm uncomfortable or there are red flags, then reconsider what my options are and if being in the hospital is something I want to do. Because it doesn't matter. You just because you went somewhere your whole pregnancy, you can still deliver wherever you want. If I last minute was like, I'm not comfortable, I want to deliver at home, I can do that. Like, it might be a little more stress, but it could be more stressful to deliver in the hospital where you're uncomfortable. So
that's helpful.
You do have that option
to know.
Yeah, you can transfer your care anytime to home, another hospital, birthing center.
Because I wouldn't have known that. In charge. I'd feel like locked in where I'm at. Like,
nope,
I'm gonna get sued.
No, and that's what people think that like, it's just they don't have a choice or a say. Yeah. They just have to go through the process that every pregnant person goes through. But you can decline what you want to decline. You can just do things a little differently. And as I went to my appointments, I just felt support. Like they weren't necessarily giving me the information I wanted natural childbirth wise. That was kind of on me. But whenever I presented them with, this is my plan, this is what I want to do, I was supported. And so that made me feel comfortable. And then whenever I was a little further into my pregnancy, 28 weeks, I think, somewhere around there, whenever you're just seeing the doctor every appointment, we sat down and I brought my birth plan and we went over it, and like, I just did not want any surprises. Whenever I come to deliver, I just want everyone to be on board because some of the things were unconventional for the hospital, I guess you would say. So I just and he was like, yep. He was a little unsure, which I'll talk about next. One of the things that he was unsure about, but yeah, I felt good. I was like, okay, this went well, and just one more like check off the list. Like, okay, I got through that, and it went. Yeah, I was pleased with my office experience and vetting them, because you can vet your doctor, like, what's their C-section rate and things like that. There are multiple factors that go into that. Like, it can be the person and how they take care of themselves, or it can be like the provider, which it's those things combined, I'd say. Yeah.
I'm so glad you felt supported, because I know some women, like, that want to be more natural, like, their doctors aren't supportive of that, so I'm glad that you, like, felt that support along the way.
Yeah, I told Kaston I felt like she was setting the precedent, because I will probably give birth in the same place she did, just because we live like locally to each other, and I was like, well, if they approved it for you, then they have to for me, so I'll just bring you as my advocate. So I was like, okay, good, we're all set, good to go. So yeah, and Kaston's birth plan is like a work of art. It is stuff I don't even know about. Like, I'm into this Krunchy stuff, but I have not really explored childbirth all that much, or pregnancy, because I'm not there yet. In the next few years, I really need to start before I want to get pregnant and give birth. But yeah, I think there's so much helpful stuff there, especially because she worked in the hospital setting in labor and delivery, but then also kind of has a more holistic point of view to be able to know, like, what are things that are traditionally done that you can ask for a compromise on, or that maybe you can do different. So with that being said, your birth plan, can you talk to us a little bit about maybe some of the things you spoke to your OBGYN about that weren't as traditional in the hospital setting that you were looking for?
Yeah, so the thing I was mentioning prior was I had on my birth plan that I wanted to eat and drink during labor, which home birth world, they're like, that's ridiculous that they would even say that. And there are policies in place for a reason, I will say. And a lot of people rarely do go into labor. Well, they don't wait to go into labor on their own. There's a lot of intervention, such as induction, or, you know, they just want to be over with it. So if you are going to be induced, and there are things that come up, then yes, you shouldn't have to eat and drink. You shouldn't be allowed to eat and drink in labor if you would need to go for a C-section. That's why that's there. But for the person that is in labor on their own without any of those risks going on, they should be allowed to eat and drink in labor. And I told him I'm not planning on having like a 5-course meal, but if I was planning...
Bringing pot roast.
Yes, if I'm going to be in labor for days, I need energy. It's like a marathon. You need to be able to support yourself and sustain the labor. So, and he was okay with that. And I said, I know if anything comes up, like that might change, but I want to have the freedom if I want to eat and drink. So I did. I sipped on bone broth and just
Health
water.
queen.
Yeah, I didn't like have the desire to eat, but so eat and drink during labor was one of the things we spoke about. I wanted to be intermittently monitored. I didn't want to be strapped down to the monitor. And actually our hospital has the option to do the wireless monitor where it's just on your belly and it's like wireless. So they're still watching you, but you can actually shower with it on and stuff like that. But I didn't even want that. I just felt like that was still going to hold me back from doing what I wanted to do. Because even that, anything can malfunction and just... it's not picking up, and it just was gonna maybe hinder or something. So I just didn't want to do that. And so then I would say saline lock, which that is where you get an IV, but you're not hooked up to running fluids. It's just there in case they would need it.
Just like the little port thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So they have access, and I compromised on that because, like, being in the hospital, I know that there are going to be things that they are going to want. So that was kind of just like, okay, I understand that, but it's not going to hold me back from doing anything. So I'll give you access, but I don't want to have running fluids.
So then for them, that was like, okay, if something starts to crash, we just have to hook the line up instead of putting the needle in.
So it is all about me. That is what, the needle's already in. It's just...
So for them, like,
fluids.
okay.
Because it's all about me, but at the same time, I'm choosing to deliver in the hospital. So I kind of do still want to respect like them. So if that makes them feel better, it'll make me feel better. Because then just how my mind works, I'm not going to feel like, oh, they're upset or whatever. So... yeah, saline lock. And then if I was going to have any trouble with bleeding, because it's not uncommon for them to routinely give you Pitocin after delivery. It can be given during labor to help get the labor going, but it's also after delivery given to help stop bleeding because it contracts the uterus. So I opted that if they would need to give it, I didn't want it routinely, but if they would need to give it, I wanted it injected in my muscle, in my intramuscular, in my thigh, instead of running IV, because I just didn't want to have to worry about that cord. I'm trying to breastfeed, and that was just another thing that he was okay with. So I said, if you need to, you can give it to me, but I prefer an injection over a couple hour infusion.
See, that's so interesting though, because like
you wouldn't know that.
I don't even know they give Pitocin after birth, let alone that you can stick it in your thigh one time instead of
you just have to ask, and that's where the education comes in, is being informed of what your options are and what you can just, it doesn't hurt to ask.
And I think it's interesting because like I like your perspective, because I think a lot of times it's like you have like holistic home birth people here, and then like people that do the delivery in the hospital here, and they're almost like at odds with each other. And so then if you go in and you're like, well, I would be having a home birth and this is what I want to do, and the doctor feels disrespected, like it's probably not going to be a good birthing situation for you, because like they feel like you just think they're stupid and they did go to all this schooling, and like there is a level of respect to have there of like, they're not like, for the most part, I mean, I'm sure there's some bad doctors out there, but they're not like evilly trying to make you have the worst birth of your life.
You just don't know what you don't know.
You both want a healthy baby, healthy mom. You're just coming at it from different perspectives. So if you're able to have that as a respectful conversation, reach some sort of compromise, I think if it's a good doctor, they'll be open to like having that discussion.
And hopefully in the future, something like there could be more of a collaboration between the two. Like, because I don't think that every single person needs to deliver in the hospital, but I don't think every single person should deliver at home. There are risks, and you know, are you a higher risk? It's stuff like that. It's just, yeah, maybe if they work together and communicate, and then when should we go to the hospital even? Because people, if you're gonna, not people, I didn't mean like people listening, just in general, if you're gonna deliver at home, when is it like that you need to say, okay, I need to go to the hospital?
Yeah, that's a hard decision.
Yeah, because some people are just so want to stay at home that they just, things can happen. And
yeah,
you know.
And ultimately you want to have a healthy baby and a healthy mom.
Yeah, and there's more to it than that's a simple statement that people like to say, but you know, things happen, so you just need to know what you want to do and when it's time.
Yeah. So you have this amazing plan. So going into what happened. So what was your birth experience like, and then how did you like advocate for yourself throughout the process?
So I will just maybe talk you through my birth story.
Please.
So,
yes.
Okay. So I was 40 weeks and 6 days, and I woke up at 3 a.m. on Thanksgiving Day, and I started. Well, what I do at 3 in the morning, my water broke, and it wasn't like, it's rarely like the movies where your water breaks and it's a big gush and you immediately emergently rush to the hospital. It does not have to be like that. But my water broke and I started contracting pretty much at the same time, which I was thankful for, that they were hand in hand, and I was kind of not timing them at this point because it's 3 in the morning. I'm like, okay, this is early labor. This is my opportunity. I want to try to rest if I can and just relax, and then maybe wake up a little later and then go to the hospital. So, and by the way, my water, it was clear. There was no signs that anything was going on. My baby was still moving, because there are some things like that could be alarming. If there was some blood or it was colored differently, then maybe I would have gone sooner. But everything looked okay, so I decided to rest. So I just went back to bed, and I didn't really sleep. I just was resting, and then my husband was supposed to go to work at 6 in the morning. Even though it was Thanksgiving, he had the opportunity to get triple time. So I was like, you know what, this could be days. So
you're like, go
get triple
get that
time.
money.
So he was like, are you sure? And I'm like, yes. So he went to work, and I'm just like at home. I'm like cleaning up the house. I made myself a nice breakfast. I try to like sit down and watch a movie and eat my breakfast. And they started to get more uncomfortable to where I couldn't watch the movie. So I was texting him. I'm like, maybe just work half a day. And then a little bit later, like probably minutes, I was like, maybe come home at 8. So he worked 2 hours. And
hey, it was triple time. Yeah, so it was like a day's work.
So he came home. He's like, I don't even know why I went to work. And I'm like, yeah, but you never know. So it's fine. So he came home, and we were all packed up, and we had moved in the process of me being pregnant, but I still wanted to deliver where I was familiar. And so I was a little further away from the hospital, like 45 minutes. So in active labor, I felt like I didn't want to make that drive if I was close to delivering or whatever. So my mom lived like 10 minutes away from the hospital. So I wanted to just get there. So I'm still comfortable, still able to do whatever I want to do, but I'm a little closer. And that was just going to give me some peace of mind. So we got everything packed, and we drove to my mom's, and I was listening to my Christian hypnobirthing app on the way there. And that was a good resource, because it's just like a calm voice, just like kind of walking you through. They prefer the term like surges and what else do they call them, waves, instead of contractions, because contraction, when you think of that, is just like already has like, oh no, a contraction. But if you think about it as like a wave, it's all your mindset. And so she was just talking to me, and I was just breathing, and we got to my mom's, and I had my labor ball, and I was bouncing on that and just like trying different positions. And then I had a contraction where I felt like a little pressure-ish, if you know what I mean, like just pressure in my bottom. I don't know. It's just like, wait, what was that? It just was a change. And I was like, I don't know what that was. And I could have maybe checked myself at that time, but
what do you mean by check yourself? For
like,
people that
do a cervical exam on myself.
to see how open your cervix was.
See how dilated. But I also, my water broke. I knew I was in labor. Like, it was now, like, after 9 at this point. So I had labored a few hours at home, and then now I'm at my mom's. I thought maybe I should just go because I know this is it. If my water hadn't broken yet, maybe I would have been more flexible. But I knew I needed to go at some point soon. So I went and got there around 10. And I also didn't want to go whenever it was going to be just like chaotic. So I wanted enough time to like get admitted and just like settle before anything big happened. So around 10 I got there, and I was 3 centimeters dilated, which, you know, is something. It was like, it would have been nice to be more, but 3, I'll take it. So 3 centimeters dilated, they admitted me, and then they just left me alone. So I had the room dark. I had my hypnobirthing going. I was annoyed with listening to her voice at that point, so I just had
what I was gonna ask.
The music on. They have like just like a calm music.
Okay.
So I had that on, and my husband was there, and I brought a yoga mat because I wanted to just like be able to be mobile, and if I wanted to be on the floor, hospital floors are not comfortable, so bring a yoga mat. And I just tried to listen to my body. It's all just try not to get scared. This is where all the education and preparation comes, and you're in it. Like, just be there for each contraction. Don't run from it. Just kind of embrace it because it's purposeful. It's your body, so don't be scared of your own body. Your body is working with you, so, or you need to work with your body. And I just really tried to focus what would benefit me. So whether that was changing positions or just imagery, like imagining, this sounds silly, but imagine your cervix opening, just like
no, I love that.
Yeah, just breathing. And then I tried walking, squatting. This is where it's important, your support person, because my husband really was there for me. Like, he was there each contraction. He held me up when I needed him to. He helped me to get into different positions. There are different things that are easier with a second person. And so that was also a really, like, if I would have been alone or just not had the right person there, then I think it would have been a little more stressful. And if you don't have a support person, maybe think about hiring a doula, because nurses are great, but they also have their own jobs to do. So you can't rely on that. But if you can have a person dedicated to you, that is really gonna probably help you and encourage you.
And did you guys like go to birthing classes or something that he was prepared to know, like the positions and how to help you?
So yes, so I would send him things that I would discover, but also I did a physiological birth class with, it was my chiropractor that did it, and he came along, and you got to like practice different positions and different things, so he had an idea. He wasn't going in blind, and that's really important, so they know how to advocate for you if you can't. So they can just, and maybe even like suggest some things, because you don't, at least I didn't want to be like told what to do. But if just like, hey, do you want to try this? You've been in this position for an hour. Do you want to try this? You know, it's just so you have someone there on the same, because
you're kind of like busy and your mindset's
and the clock doesn't exist. It's like you don't know how long things are going on, so just I would recommend your support person getting some education as well.
I'm gonna need that for sure. I can only imagine if Logan went in blind.
And then like videos and stuff if you're in class, like, they almost have to listen and participate. Like, they're there.
Yeah.
You got them there. So that was good.
Held captive.
And so I don't even remember what time it was. Maybe like 3 o'clock or something. I wanted to be checked again. That was another thing. I didn't want a bunch of vag exams that were pointless. Mm-hmm. I wanted to let them know, I want you to check me. So I let them know I wanted them to check me. I wanted to see where I was at. And I was 6 centimeters dilated at that point. And so at this hospital that I delivered at, you don't deliver in the room that you start out in. They have an actual labor room. And then you go back to the room that you started in. So at that point, I was far enough along. I went to the actual labor room. It's not far. I just walked there. and things were getting more serious. So 6 centimeters dilated. I was on my hands and knees a lot. Like, I was using the bed. Use the bed for yourself. I tried squatting. I didn't really love it. I really thought I was gonna like to squat and just do different things, but hands and knees was like my thing. And I had to lay on my side for a little bit, alternating with, it's called a peanut ball, because it's like the material of a labor ball, but it's a different shape. So it goes in between your legs, and her head was positioned a little funny, so he had me, and I hated it. So I did it for like 20 minutes, and then I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I then was like 9 or something. I don't know, but I was having the urge to push off and on. And it probably wasn't consistent, I'm thinking, because of the way her head was. So then they did become like every contraction. And you really, when they say like you can't help it, you cannot help it. Your body, my body was just pushing. It was so weird. And I didn't love it. Some people are like, it was so relieving to push. I didn't like it. I didn't want it. But, and I also did not want to be forced to do force pushing or purple pushing. It has different terms, but that's where you like bear down and push with all your
like
might.
what you see in the movies when they're like push and she's like,
and you don't have to do that. You can say, no thank you, I don't want coached. And so I was just like doing these little pushes for like an hour and a half. And I just did not want to deliver on my back. Something about that's just classic hospital. I did not want to deliver on my back. So, but I did not like pushing squatting. I did not like pushing on my hands and knees at that point. So then I was trying to be on my side. And looking back, I'm pretty sure I was pretty much on my back. But it is what it is. So I pushed for like an hour and a half, and then they were so patient because she was crowning forever and ever. And it was like it was like after 7. So my whole labor was like 16 hours, and I was crowning, and then I was like, you know what, I'm over this. So then I did push with all I had, and I just did not want to stop pushing until she was out. So she came out finally, and I was just, it's so relieving to have to actually do it.
Yeah.
I had her. And another thing I will say is, before I had her, was like my mindset. It was everything, because there were some times I wasn't very vocal, but I was in my head talking to myself. And there were times where like, just a little IV pain medication, or is it really a big deal? But then I had so many reasons of why I didn't want to do it, and I was like, no, it's fine. I can just get through the next contraction at a time. Remind yourself why you don't want to do things, and just don't give up on yourself, because it does eventually end, and you'll be so glad that you just pushed through it. And it's not for everyone if you want to do those things, but I it was important to me, whatever I get, she gets, and I didn't want to start off with any medication in our systems. Yeah. So that was something I had to remind myself as I was in labor. And so then I had her. I did skin to skin immediately, and I did have some lacerations vaginal wall and labial lacerations. And it was I didn't really know what was going on because I'm just like, oh, I have my baby in my arms. But I do remember him saying, like, how far away is anesthesia? And I was like, so how'd I do? Like, speaking to my damage. And he's like, not good. And I'm like, oh no. So he didn't end up having to call anesthesia. He was able to repair me there, but I did lose enough blood that I had to get IM Pitocin, and then I also had IM Methergin, which is another medication for bleeding after delivery. But then after that, we just enjoyed the first couple hours skin to skin, and it was just, it was exciting. It was just fun. She's finally here. So that was my birth story.
I think it's so helpful that you walked us through that, because there's just so much of even like little things to you that you're just saying that like people that haven't given birth are like, I didn't even know that's a thing. Like,
I'm learning so much.
You know, it's like helping with the education component and the comfortability there. And so you gave birth. She was perfect and beautiful. So what was it like those first few days postpartum? What do you wish you knew or would do different next time, or really happy you did?
So it was very exciting. You know, it came and I had her and she's here. But it was also emotional, like everyone knows, like all the hormones go crazy after delivery. I literally cried for no reason, like for a couple weeks after I had her, but it was fine. I knew it was normal. But really, like, you just delivered her, but your next focus for a lot of people in the natural world, I would say, is breastfeeding. So that is pretty much established right after delivery. A lot of times they'll nurse like so good for you after delivery. I don't know what it is, but she knows. She just went right on and she nursed for like hours. Wow. And I didn't watch clocks. I didn't say, oh, every couple hours I need to get her back on. Like, I just watched her, listened to her. She would let me know if she's hungry, and I just nursed her. That was my job. My job now is feed her when she wants, and then we're just both going to rest. So I would say, breastfeeding sounds simple, but there is kind of a lot to it. And if you don't know anything about it, or you don't have people in your life that breastfed, I would recommend taking a breastfeeding class, because there is just a lot of good to know things that maybe you didn't know, or your family didn't experience. Even though I knew about breastfeeding and I helped a lot of women breastfeed, I didn't do it for myself. It's different whenever you're doing it on your own, and you go home a couple days later and what you could experience at home. And it was nice to like ask my mom, like, what did you experience? And she did help me with some things. But I would recommend learning about breastfeeding as well.
I will need to do that. I don't know anything.
Like, I was day 4 and my milk came in, and normally people are in the hospital that long, so we're not always there to see when your milk comes in and what it's like. And like 2 giant hard bowling balls. I am not even kidding you. Like, I was like,
was it painful?
Normal. Yeah, like it was like I couldn't reach for things if I like accidentally like bumped them, and that it was pretty much like that, because you're trying to regulate that. It just comes in, and it's gonna be based on supply and demand. So however much they nurse, that's how much you make. So I didn't want to pump because I didn't want to make more then. So you can kind of relieve it a little bit with just like hand expression or just enough. But I just wanted her to nurse when she wanted to nurse. And then it was like the first 2 weeks were a little challenging. And then once they like got soft, I guess, it didn't hurt. It was like fine, and we've been going strong since, and it's just been such a great experience. Just the time that we have, just the 2 of us throughout the day and throughout the night, was really nice. But it does take time to feel normal. Like, I was expecting, a week or two, but like months. Like, I felt weak for a long time. And just give yourself grace and rest, and don't feel like you need to be in a competition for anything, but it can take a long time to feel normal.
That's good advice.
Yeah. So good. So now she is about 6 months, so I guess just talk about your experience as a new mom for the first time and how you've supported yourself and your baby, just adjusting to this new season of life.
Yeah, so just like you did when you were pregnant, and hopefully before you were pregnant, continue to take care of yourself, because if you are healthy and happy, your baby is most likely going to be healthy and happy. Someone told me when I was pregnant, and it seems to have been true, is happy mom, happy baby. If you're stressed, it's all just going to be so much harder. So let go of expectations and just be present and really soak it in, because it really does just go so fast. I had, fortunately, 3 months of maternity leave, and that first couple months, your baby's normally just sleepy. Take advantage of that. We literally just every day, it was me and her. She was on my chest on the recliner, either napping, watching my favorite TV show. Like, it was great, and I had the best couple months with her, and I hope that everyone is able to do that, because it really is important. And give yourself grace, especially first time moms. Like, you think but until you're doing it, it's a whole new ballgame. So it just takes time, and ask questions, and don't feel bad for asking questions. Like, there's no shame or guilt, or there shouldn't be, just because you are unsure. But yeah, reach out to someone you trust, or look something up to help you.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, again, because I'm like learning about all of it. It's just, I know it'll be different, like, to experience it, versus like you can know all this stuff, but until you're like there doing it and feeling it, and like everybody's body is different. So then, like, what one person says might not be true for you, and like to just kind of learn your baby and your body, and like through the process. And then, like, it is such a big thing. Like, you have this hour-long birthing where you're giving everything you have, and then you're like straight into, okay, breastfeeding's the next thing, and then you're home with this baby, and it's up all night. Like, it's constant exhaustion, and like your body's trying to heal and stuff. So it's just like, I respect moms so much, and like I think it's quite the journey.
Yeah, just like trusting your body. Like, your body, like, God designed our bodies to literally give birth. Like, we have that innate instinct, and just like, when you're not sure what to do, like, obviously getting advice and getting help, but also like just trusting yourself, and you as a mom, like, and I'm sure you have this just natural instinct.
That's so true. Like, trust your gut, because mothers know their babies better than anyone. That's very good advice.
Yeah, so speaking of advice, our last question is, what advice would you give to any newly expecting mom who wants to have a natural birth, doesn't know where to start?
Priority is to educate yourself. If a natural physiological birth is something you desire, then being informed is going to give you confidence in your decisions throughout your pregnancy, and then your delivery, and then even beyond that. So a really good resource is Ina May's Guide to Childbirth, and she has birth stories in there, and just she defines things, and she just gives tips and tricks of how to have labor go, hopefully, just better and move things along. And a birth class, if possible. If you can attend one, that would probably be ideal, you and your significant other, or they do have them online, so you just have to look for them, and just find a birth class, I would say. It's also, you can do 100% of everything right, and something could still go wrong, or not necessarily wrong, but in a way you don't expect, because labor is like, you don't know what to expect. And but I do think that there are things you can do to increase your chances of it going in your favor. but give yourself grace either way. And I would say don't let anyone discourage you, whether you deliver in the hospital or at home. It's your personal decision, and you're the only one that can make that decision for yourself. And lastly, mind over matter. If you think you can, you're right. And if you think you can't, you're also right. So I think that your mindset has a big factor in whether it goes your way.
Yes, that is wonderful advice. Sorry, we have a bee in the new podcast shed, and we're trying to open these little windows to get it out, but they're sticking, and so we're trying to scoot him out, but just new studio things. He doesn't seem to be heading out anytime soon. But no, I think that advice was wonderful and so helpful. All of it. Like, I really was so excited for this episode because I know you were like a little like, well, she was like, I know how Rachel can talk for hours, but I don't know if I can. But like, it was wonderful, and I think people are going to take so much from it because I know, like, I did, and I've said, like, Kaston's going to be my doula. Like, she's going to come to the hospital with me because I already know my Logan's, like, wigged out to even have a baby someday, and then I'm going to be, like, busy having a baby, so I'm going to need someone there that knows all the stuff and can advocate for me, so...
I just learned so much. Thank you so much, Kaston, for being on. This was so good.
Yeah, it was. Do you have anything else you want to add, or...
I don't think so.
Okay. Perfect.
Well, thank you again for being on. I know our listeners are going to learn so much from this. So thank you guys for all listening. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all the things. We hope you took so much away from this. We know that we did. And yeah, thanks for being here.
Yeah, we'll talk soon.
Bye.
Remember, although we talk all things health and wellness here, this is not medical advice, and you should always seek out your medical professional for further questions. Thanks again for listening. Please remember to share, comment, and subscribe to help support our podcast.